For being here today, and I welcome our nominees and their families. I'm grateful for their willingness to serve our nation. The United States faces a very dangerous threat environment. We need people like them to step up and serve, so we thank you for your willingness. Mr. Michael Powers has been nominated to serve as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense in the Office of the Comptroller. If confirmed, he would oversee the Department of Defense's financial management and budget execution. Crucially, he would oversee efforts to achieve a clean audit, ensuring taxpayer resources are allocated effectively to support our troops and national security priorities. Mr. Powers will face challenges, including the need to address persistent audit deficiencies and the need to modernize the department's budgeting system. The Congress has set a statutory deadline for the audit, and the reconciliation bill provides a historic bucket of funding to accelerate auditing efforts. I look forward to hearing Mr. Powers' plans to implement that funding and to assist in modernizing the Pentagon's budgetary process. Dr. Amy Henninger has been nominated to serve as Director of Operational Test and Evaluation. This critical role ensures our weapon systems are effective and reliable for field operations. 2 months ago, Secretary Hegseth initiated a reorganization of this office with the goal of right-sizing the workforce. Some of my colleagues questioned that decision, so we'll talk about that today. I believe it properly refocused the office on its original statutory purpose rather than the excessive bureaucratic obstacle it had evolved into. The committee understands the need to modernize the test and evaluation process. Our NDAA proposes an agile pathway to provide the director with more oversight across a system's life cycle, while at the same time preserving the independence of the Test and Evaluation Office. So I look forward to hearing Dr. Henninger's vision for navigating this transition. Mr. David Denton has been nominated to be General Counsel of the Department of the Navy. He currently serves as the Principal Deputy performing duties of the Undersecretary of the Navy for Policy. He has had a distinguished career serving as a counsel in the Department of the Navy, an Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, and an associate at the law firm of Sidley Austin. I look forward to hearing his perspectives about what the Navy's Office of General Counsel is doing right, and I'd also like to hear what he may do differently if confirmed. And finally, Mr. Benjamin Kohlmann has been nominated to serve as the Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Manpower and Reserve Affairs. If confirmed, he would play a key role in recruiting, retaining, and supporting high-quality sailors and Marines. This committee has worked hard to expand the tools and authorities needed to improve quality of life, health care, and readiness. Mr. Kohlmann will be expected to build on that work and deliver measurable improvements that strengthen the force and enhance the quality of life for those who serve. These factors are critical to retention and readiness across the fleet. I look forward to hearing his vision for supporting our service members, civilians, and families. We began 15 minutes earlier than we usually do because quite a number of our members have other committee responsibilities to attend to at the top of the hour. And so people will be coming and going. But with that, I turn to my colleague and friend, Ranking Member Reed.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for beginning the hearing early. I am one of those that has to go to Appropriations. We are considering, among other things, the Defense Appropriations Bill. So I think my presence is over there is justified. Good morning to our witnesses and congratulations on your nominations. I would like to welcome you and your family members also, and also like to welcome Representative Rob Whitman, who's just arrived, Representative. He will be introducing Dr. Henninger. Mr. Powers, you are nominated to be the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense Comptroller. The Office of the Comptroller is instrumental in preparing and executing the department's budget, ensuring the resources that Congress provides are allocated to troops efficiently and effectively. Additionally, the Comptroller is a key player in the department's efforts to achieve a clean audit and to modernize its financial management system. Mr. Powers has confirmed there are significant challenges you will need to address. This year, the Department of Defense delivered a budget request that was nearly half a year late and assumed incorrect amounts in reconciliation funding, creating large discrepancies and shortfalls across many programs. From your previous experience in Army financial management, I would like to know how you would direct the department to track and manage reconciliation funds separately from traditional appropriated funds. Additionally, the department is in the midst of implementing several reforms to its planning, programming, budgeting, and execution process, and is working to achieve a clean audit, something that is required in law. I would ask that you share your plans to meet these challenges at this important moment for the Department of Defense. Dr. Henninger, you are nominated to be the Director of Operational Tests and Evaluation, or DOT&E. For decades, DOT&E has played a vital, legally mandated role in safeguarding the integrity of major defense programs and ensuring military systems are effective before they are put into warfighters' hands. Unfortunately, in May, the Secretary of Defense announced his plan to significantly reduce the DOT&E office, including slashing its workforce budget and resources. The Secretary has given no compelling reason for this action. In my view, it is extremely damaging to military accountability and oversight. With drastically reduced resources, DOT&E may be unable to provide adequate oversight for critical military programs, risking operational readiness and taxpayers' dollars. Dr. Henninger, if confirmed, you will need to address the fallout from these cuts in addition to other existing challenges. In particular, you will be responsible for providing oversight of testing conducted in vital areas that are often overlooked, such as software development and cybersecurity, as well as integrating new tools such as artificial intelligence and machine learning to help the test enterprise become more effective, and I look forward to hearing how you will address these challenges. Mr. Denton, you are nominated to be General Counsel of the Department of the Navy. This position is responsible for providing legal services throughout the department in a vast array of fields, including acquisition-related law, arms control, business and commercial law, and national security-related law, among many others. The General Counsel also assists in ethics, intelligence, criminal investigation, and law enforcement activities. In recent years, there have been several damaging ethical crises within the Navy, including investigations for bribery, corruption, and violation of criminal conflict of interest laws. The Navy's culture is critical to its cohesion and effectiveness, and this pattern of ethical failures must be corrected. Mr. Denton, I expect you to always exercise independent, professional judgment and to give your best legal counsel to the Secretary of the Navy, even if, or especially if, that advice is not what they would want to hear. I would like to know how you will plan to demonstrate this ethos and represent all Navy personnel with the professionalism they deserve. Finally, Mr. Kohlmann, you are nominated to be Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Manpower and Reserve Affairs. If confirmed, you would be the principal advisor to the Secretary of the Navy with overall supervision of a number of areas, including military and civilian personnel policy, military readiness, quality of life, and health care programs. Our naval forces are maintaining an extremely high operational tempo across all areas. As such, issues of readiness and retention must be your highest priorities. In particular, you will need to manage the impacts from recent widespread cuts to senior flag officers and defense civilians throughout the Department of the Navy, and smartly manage additional cuts that the administration has directed in future years. Mr. Kohlmann, I would like to know how you would plan to oversee such reductions while minimizing the impact on readiness and ensuring all sailors, Marines, and Navy civilians are treated with the respect they deserve. How the department rebounds from these cuts will go a long way to determining its ability to meet mission demands over the next decade and beyond. Thank you again to our nominees and to their families, and I look forward to your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Reed. We are joined by our longtime friend and colleague from the House of Representatives, Chairman Rob Whitman of Virginia. I understand, Rob, you will be introducing Dr. Henninger this morning, so we welcome you, and you are recognized at this point.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Ranking Member Reed. Thank you all so much for the incredible job that you all do here in the Senate Armed Services Committee. We appreciate the compliment that you provide and the coordination with the House component of armed services. These days, more important than ever, so we deeply appreciate that. And it's my honor today to be here to introduce Dr. Henninger in her confirmation hearing there for the Director of Operational Test and Evaluation at the Department of Defense. Incredibly talented individual. Dr. Henninger has been a proud resident of VA01 for 5 years. She originally hails from Illinois, where she grew up and remained until taking her first job as an engineer at McDonnell Douglas, now today Boeing, there in St. Louis, Missouri. That job eventually took her to the Space Coast in Florida, where she moved to a software development position at SAIC, now Leidos, and continued her education, culminating in a PhD in computer engineering with an emphasis and dissertation in artificial intelligence from the University of Central Florida. Upon graduation, Dr. Henninger founded the Orlando satellite office for SOAR Technology, a small AI startup company headquartered in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It was spun off from the AI lab at the University of Michigan. During this period, she also taught undergraduate and graduate level university courses in software engineering and artificial intelligence agents. After 9/11, like thousands and thousands of people across the country, Dr. Henninger felt a calling to more closely support the federal government generally and national security sector specifically. Leaving the corporate world to pursue a career in government service, Dr. Henninger moved to Northern Virginia, where she joined the Institute for Defense Analyses. She never looked back. The last 20 years of service and commitment to our national security has been the most rewarding of her career, and she'll state that every day in the rewards that she receives and the challenges that she's helped create and find solutions to. Since moving to Virginia for the last 20 years, Dr. Henninger's career has traversed the seams between the nonprofit sector and the government sector. As we see, they've continued to intertwine over the years and are more interconnected today than ever. Her notable contributions include serving a detail in the Office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Research and Engineering. She went on to serve as the Army's Modeling and Simulation Executive and Technical Advisor to the Army's Senior Analyst, providing vision, leadership, and oversight for the Army's $10 billion modeling and simulation portfolio while leading the Army's Modeling and Simulation Office. She served as a Defense Intelligence Senior Leader at the Defense Intelligence Agency, leading a cross-agency team in the development of the agency's digital future strategy. Dr. Henninger was the first Senior Advisor for Software and Cybersecurity to the Director of Operational Testing and Evaluation. She there served as the Pentagon's final technical authority in the assessment of cybersecurity T&E on major Department of Defense programs. More recently, Dr. Henninger has established a new research enterprise in adversarial and counter AI at DHS. Dr. Henninger's extensive experience and unwavering dedication to national security make her an exceptional candidate for the role of Director of Operational Test and Evaluation. Her proven leadership, technical expertise, and commitment to innovation will undoubtedly serve our nation well in this critical position. As we know, AI is the emerging both opportunity and threat for the United States. Having somebody of Dr. Henninger's capabilities, her vast experience, I cannot think of anybody better to be in this position to lead this office in a time of both great opportunity but great challenge. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I strongly support Dr. Henninger's nomination, and I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Representative. It occurs to me that Dr. Henninger may actually be overqualified for this position. But perhaps not. We'll delve into that. Since the House is not in session, you will probably want to stay here for the entirety of this hearing. But then again, perhaps there are other duties that you could perform. So we do thank you very much, and you're free to go at your discretion with the thanks of the committee.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much.
We
and
look
thank
forward
you
to
all,
working with you.
Thank you to all the members of the committee. You all are doing great work here, and we wish that you continue on that great path to success.
Well, thank you very much. Now, at this point, let's just go down the line, and Dr. Henninger, you are recognized for your opening statement. Welcome.
Chairman Wicker, Ranking Member Reed, and esteemed members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today and for your consideration of my nomination to serve as a Director of Operational Tests and Evaluation. I'm deeply honored by this opportunity and grateful to President Trump and Secretary Hegseth for their confidence in me. I'm also grateful to Vice Chairman Whitman for his generous introduction. We have the best trained, best equipped, and most capable warfighting force in the world. Yet technological innovation stands to reshape the character of conflict, and technological mastery is becoming as decisive as traditional force. In this era, strength, dominance, will no longer be measured exclusively by the size of a fleet or the range of a missile, but also by the coherence of our response, by the confidence we place in our systems, and by the speed with which we can turn emerging technologies into operational readiness. In such a landscape, operational test and evaluation should not merely validate programs. It should accelerate advantage. Our warfighters are incredibly innovative. They don't need perfection. They need confidence in the capabilities of their gear, where it works and where it doesn't work. Operational test and evaluation is where that confidence is forged and where the range of the possible is established. If confirmed, I will lead with the conviction that operational test and evaluation must be both independent and rigorous, driven by warfighting relevance, but also agile and forward-leaning, enabled by the tools and the methods of the 21st century. To meet the moment, we must modernize and streamline how we test, how we model, and how we integrate operational test and evaluation across the acquisition lifecycle. I bring to this role the breadth of experience and the technical depth required to lead in this moment. The systems we are testing now, and increasingly in the future, are highly software-intensive, AI-enabled, cyber-contested, complex, distributed systems of systems that evolve rapidly, even after fielding. With over 30 years of experience in the national security enterprise, both in the private sector and the public sector, my expertise in software, AI, cybersecurity, interoperability, distributed computing, synthetic environments, among many other computing technologies, aligns directly with these realities. Over many special government executive leadership positions, I've worked across the entire RDT&E lifecycle, including in test and evaluation, where I served as a senior advisor for software and cybersecurity to the Director of Operational Test and Evaluation. In that role, I was proud to contribute to the office's mission, building strong working relationships with the services, assessing the acquisition programs, and strengthening the test and evaluation workforce. More recently, I've established a new research enterprise in adversarial and counter AI, a prime example of how quickly our threat space is evolving, and a stark reminder that our test enterprise must be just as dynamic. Accompanying me today are friends and former colleagues that I've been blessed to work with over the course of my career, including some from OSD, the Army, DHS S&T, and DOT&E. I am grateful for their support and humbled by their presence. My sweetheart and biggest cheerleader, Dr. Todd Dvorak, is traveling for his job today and disappointed that he couldn't be here, but beaming me positive thoughts, I know. If confirmed, I will work to ensure operational test and evaluation is equipped to meet today's challenges and anticipate tomorrow's. I will press for speed and automation everywhere I possibly can, caution whenever necessary, and clarity always. But most of all, I will support the President, this Congress, the Department, the American taxpayer, and especially our warfighters in ensuring the safety and security of our great nation. Thank you again for your consideration of my nomination. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Powers, you are now recognized for an opening statement.
It looks like it's on now. Chairman Wicker, Ranking Member Reed, distinguished members of the committee, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today as the nominee to serve as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense Comptroller. It is an honor to be considered for this role, and I am deeply grateful for the trust and confidence placed in me by President Trump. I would like to begin by acknowledging my family and their support. My wife, Colleen, we've been married 46 years, and she too has had a long federal civilian career, 25 years as a contract specialist for DOD. And our children, Brian, Connor, Neil, and Megan, for their unwavering support as we moved around the world from military installation to military installation. And during my absences when I volunteered to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan. Their sacrifices enabled me to grow professionally and develop a depth and breadth of financial management experience, skills and knowledge that I will bring to this job. I also want to thank the men and women who wear the uniforms of the United States, past and present, whose courage and dedication should inspire all of us every day. They've inspired me, and I would be remiss if I did not also express my appreciation for our civilian workforce and their families, without whom we could not do the job demanded of us either. My relationship with the Department of Defense started early. I was born at a U.S. Army hospital in France. Both of my brothers were also born at Army hospitals overseas. We were a DOD family led by the example set by my father, who quit high school to join the Air Force during the Korean War, eventually retiring as an Army Master Sergeant near the end of the Vietnam War. I did not start out looking to spend most of my life working as a civilian for DOD, but when fate intervened, it seemed like the natural thing to do. I've spent 38 years in the federal civilian service, 8 years primarily in budget, 30 years in and around audit, and then another 8 years after I retired as a contractor supporting audit. The vast majority of that experience was in DOD, and it was earned at every command echelon and management level in audit and budget. From installations, divisions, corps, major commands, to the Assistant Secretary of the Army Comptroller and the OSD Comptroller previously, including 2 deployments to Iraq to manage the $18 billion Iraq Relief and Reconstruction Program budget, and to Afghanistan to manage the $21 billion Afghan National Security Forces program budget. And lastly, to my second tour at the U.S. Army Comptroller Office, where I was the Army's principal deputy for financial management and comptroller, and served as the acting comptroller and the chief financial officer for the Army, responsible for the Army's entire $177 billion budget at the time. These experiences have prepared me for this moment to reform and improve the DoD budget process, to support robust budgets that deliver capability and lethality, fulfilling the President's goal of peace through strength, and to deliver the first clean audit opinion on the Department of Defense's consolidated financial statements. I believe the depth and breadth of my experience has given me the tools to be successful as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense Comptroller. And if confirmed, I look forward to applying these tools to address any challenge presented. These are big jobs, but we can get big jobs done. In closing, I would like to thank the committee for its consideration of my nomination, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Mr. Denton, you are now recognized.
Chairman Wicker, Ranking Member Reed, and distinguished members of the committee, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today and for your consideration of my nomination to be General Counsel of the Department of the Navy. I'm deeply honored that President Trump has nominated me for this role, and I'm grateful to Secretary Phelan for his trust and confidence. I've been lucky in my life to have the support of many extraordinary people, but none more so than the family who've joined me here today. My mother, Judge Rena Raji, who recently celebrated 38 years on the federal bench. My wife, Corinne, and our daughter, Elizabeth. Like all families of those who served, they've borne the brunt of the sacrifice, but have always given me unflagging support. I also want to acknowledge my late father, David Denton Sr., an Air Force veteran who spent most of his career in public service and who we lost to brain cancer far too soon. He showed me by example the wisdom of G.K. Chesterton's advice that the real great man is the one who makes every man feel great. I try every day to make my dad proud of the man I have become. Senators, for 250 years, the Navy Marine Corps team has been America's first line of defense, proving time and again its critical role in every aspect of our national security. The Department of the Navy today stands in an unbroken line with those who have come before to answer the nation's call with honor, courage, and commitment. That mission has led me to join the Navy twice, first in uniform as a Navy Reserve intelligence officer, and then again as a career civilian attorney. I feel truly blessed that the President has given me the opportunity to continue that service if confirmed to be General Counsel. But the Navy now faces a critical inflection point. President Trump, Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Phelan, and the members of this committee have all recognized that transformational change is necessary for the Department of the Navy to continue to meet both the tests from adversaries old and new and the challenges of a rapidly evolving technological landscape. The Navy and Marine Corps now and in the future must be so confidently assured of victory in battle that our adversaries do not even seek to test our resolve. That is the demand of the warrior ethos, and it is the promise of peace through strength. Every aspect of that effort will require the support, the intellectual rigor, the creativity, and the tireless dedication of the Department of the Navy's Office of General Counsel to ensure that the objectives our elected leaders set are achieved in a manner consistent with the Constitution and laws of the United States. If confirmed, I would hope to bring to that service a combination of education, experience, perspective, and commitment. Many of my teachers and mentors had their own careers of public service, and from them I learned not only the skills, but also the values of a government attorney. I've applied those lessons in my experience as an assistant U.S. attorney, senior trial counsel, and civilian counsel in the Navy. I'm very proud of the work we've done to innovate creative legal tools to bring justice to adversaries threatening American citizens and interests, work which has given me a valuable perspective on our challenging national security environment. While I know my background will stand me in good stead if confirmed, most important is my commitment. I grew up in New York City. I'll never forget the sight and smell of the ash and debris covering our roof on 9/11. I've known victims of crime and terrorism and the law enforcement and military professionals who risked their lives and sometimes lost them to see justice done. Protecting our nation to me is not just a professional charge, it is a personal calling. President Trump, Secretary Phelan, Congress, and the Americans we all serve have my total commitment that if confirmed, I will leave it all on the field every day to ensure that the Department of the Navy has the best possible legal advice to meet the challenges of this moment. And that includes working closely with this committee and with Congress as a whole. It's been my privilege on several occasions now to raise my right hand and ask for God's help to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. It would be the honor of a lifetime to do so again if confirmed as the General Counsel of the Navy. Thank you for having me here today, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Kohlmann, you're recognized.
Chairman Wicker, Ranking Member Reed, and distinguished members of the Armed Services Committee. It is an honor and a privilege to appear before you as President Trump's nominee to be Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Manpower and Reserve Affairs. If confirmed, I am excited and eager to once again serve the Department of the Navy and the American people. I am deeply grateful to President Trump, Secretary Hegseth, and Secretary Phelan for their confidence and trust. I also want to thank my parents here today, Michael and Carrie Kohlmann. All of their children have sacrificed and served our country, including my brother, who is a Navy Foreign Area Officer, currently living in Africa, and my sister, who is also here today, married to a twice-deployed Army National Guard officer and active U.S. Marshal. Most of all, I want to thank my wife and our 3 elementary-aged children who are with us today. They are the earthly foundation of all that I do. Senators, America is worth defending. That defense requires men and women who volunteer their vocation and their lives. This truth dawned on me as a young boy. I was enamored of World War II, and military aviation was in my blood. My grandfather was a carrier pilot who flew Hellcats and Corsairs off the USS Wasp and USS Hornet in the Pacific. My great-uncle was an Army Air Corps and then Air Force pilot who flew from World War II through the end of the Cold War, including time as a prisoner of war. Their stories defined my childhood and set me on an inevitable path. This led me to experience the highs and lows of military service as an active duty and reserve Navy officer. As an F-18 pilot, I flew 32 combat missions over Afghanistan. I was stationed for 2 years as an exchange instructor pilot with the United States Marine Corps at Miramar in San Diego. I worked closely with Navy civilians and lab scientists at Navy Warfare Development Command when I was empowered to build and lead the Chief of Naval Operations Rapid Innovation Cell. I saw the inner workings of the Navy Reserve for 9 years when I helped set up the Defense Innovation Unit in Silicon Valley in 2015 and then served in the Voluntary Training Unit. I experienced the pain of loss when squadron mates lost their lives flying high-performance aircraft. I saw firsthand the burden of military service on families as I watched my sister endure the first 3 years of her marriage away from her Army husband while he was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan on back-to-back pumps. In my civilian career, I spent the past 5 years deeply immersed in the startup ecosystem, building a dual-use company, and most recently investing in exceptional founders focused on building for the national interest and reindustrialization. The common theme in all those endeavors was the importance of people, military, civilian, and families. If confirmed, I am committed to leveraging this career of service to ensure our sailors, Marines, civilians, and families are ready for a possible confrontation with whatever pacing threat we might face. Our goal is to deter conflict, but if necessary, to fight and win whatever our enemies send our way. Both cases require our best and most qualified to be ready to boldly lead. To do so, our Navy must reinvigorate a warfighting ethos, promoting exceptional warfighting ability and agile leaders. We must bolster an improving recruiting and retention picture, showing the American people why sea power is critical to national flourishing. Finally, if confirmed, I'm committing to finding ways to modernize our reserve forces to facilitate fast, large-scale mobilizations when called upon, while creating streamlined pathways for exceptional civilian talent to serve. To paraphrase my favorite military philosopher, technology doesn't win wars. Men and women do, and they use their minds to do so. If confirmed, I'm committed to making sure our Department of the Navy personnel are ready to deter, fight, and win. America is worth defending. In closing, I reiterate my appreciation of the chairman, ranking member, and members of this committee for your intentionality throughout this process. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kohlmann. Where was your great uncle imprisoned as a prisoner of war?
Mr. Chairman, he was in the Hanoi Hilton for 5 years.
Our state of Mississippi lost a distinguished veteran of that prison, Colonel Smitty Harris, just a few days ago. And we honor the memory of all of those courageous warriors for the United States. Who's your philosopher?
Sir, it's Colonel John Boyd, U.S. Air Force.
Well, thank you very, very much, all of you. And I now have the duty of asking some questions which we ask of all of our civilian nominees. So I'll just ask you all to answer at the same time. You could just say yes or no. Have you adhered to applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest?
Yes.
Yes, Senator.
Have you assumed any duties or taken any actions that would appear to presume the outcome of the confirmation process?
No.
No,
No.
Mr. Chairman.
Exercising our legislative and oversight responsibilities makes it important that this committee, its subcommittees, and other appropriate committees of Congress receive testimony, briefings, reports, records, and other information from the executive branch on a timely basis. You agree, if confirmed, to appear and testify before this committee when requested?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you agree to provide records, documents, and electronic communications in a timely manner when requested by this committee, its subcommittees, or other appropriate committees of Congress, and to consult with the requester regarding the basis for any good faith delay or denial in providing such records?
Yes.
Yes.
Will you ensure that your staff complies with deadlines established by this committee for the production of reports, records, and other information, including timely responding to hearing questions for the record?
Yes.
Yes.
Will you cooperate in providing witnesses and briefers in response to congressional requests?
Yes.
Yes.
Will those witnesses and briefers be protected from reprisal for their testimony or briefings?
Yes.
Yes.
And then much of the funding of the Defense Reconciliation Bill is unspecific and will technically be at the discretion of DOD, though this committee has provided recommendations for them. A quick yes or no from each of you. Do you commit to follow the Congress's spending recommendations in defense reconciliation unequivocally?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much. And now I will recognize myself for 5 minutes for questions. Mr. Powers, what are your, if you can briefly, and I guess you could spend an hour doing this, but if you can briefly tell us your specific plans to achieve a clean audit opinion by Christmas time of 2028.
Thank you, Chairman. I've been around audit a long time in DOD and outside. I think one of the things we absolutely have to do, and all of this is contingent on confirmation, of course, is get senior leadership very actively involved in the process of setting milestones and holding the departments and defense agencies to those milestones. And that goes on top of getting rid of a bunch of legacy systems, leveraging technology, AI, robotics, machine learning, a lot of things we can do to make it easier to audit the department, more efficient, quicker, and at less cost. Back to...
If you're confirmed, how soon do you think you might be able to establish that first set of milestones?
That is step number one after I get possibly the DepSecDef to agree, and I'm sure he will. That's just how it works. In weeks, we should be able to make a cut at what those milestones are. It's easy to see what the milestones would be, and then it's the work is underneath. You know, how do we get to a common or a couple of common financial systems?
Okay. Well, you know, I think we all agree on both sides of the dais that the 2024 NDAA anticipated it's going to take a while, and it's 3.5 years off even as we speak. So I know it's something that has been a frustration for a long time, but we stand ready to give you the tools you need. So thank you for that. Let me briefly ask Mr. Kohlmann. Recruiting is up. Based on that, do you think we need to go back to the more stringent recruiting standards that we had earlier?
Senator, I think it's to the credit of what's been done in the Department of the Navy at this point to get to these strong recruiting numbers. If confirmed, I'd like to look into what's driven that recruitment opportunity and if those are higher standard individuals. I think if we have the opportunity to increase the minimum standards, we should absolutely increase those standards as long as we are meeting our recruiting goals.
Okay, well, it seems to me that there's sort of a new enthusiasm among young Americans to sign up and be part of the cause. Let me ask you, in that regard, have you been informed what an enthusiastic supporter of junior ROTC, the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, is?
Mr. Chairman, I have been.
Yes, and I hope you share that enthusiasm. And it's not just something that occurs to members who visit high schools, but this has been substantiated by scholarly studies. Junior ROTC, whether it's Navy or the other opportunities, constitutes a subset of people who, in a high school, who are voluntarily agreeing to better discipline, to more work, to standards that other high school students don't have to have. And the result is clear and amazing and has been happening for decades. They make better grades, they stay in school longer, they go on to jobs or colleges and universities at a higher rate. It is a winner, and just for everyone, when this committee and this Congress, House and Senate, pass an NDAA that says the floor of junior ROTC units across the country should be raised. In other words, we should have more and more high schools. That is not a suggestion. It's been viewed as a suggestion several years back, but that's a requirement. And we mean for junior ROTC to be to become part of our citizenship building ethos in the United States. Thank you very much, and Dr. Henninger, I'll probably come back to you for some questions later on. At this point, I am happy to recognize Senator King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Power, you've been around audit, as you've said, for many years. Why is it so hard? Why is this case the paradigm case for not being able to get to an audit? What is it at the Pentagon that has created the obstacles to getting where we should get? A lot of big organizations have audits every year. What's the history here?
Senator, I appreciate that question. I know a lot of people ask that very question. We've been doing this for, 35 years since the CFO Act was passed. In my opinion, it hasn't been as important as it is in the private sector. In the private sector, you can't do business if you don't have clean audit opinions, if you're not answering all the compliance requirements of SEC.
You can't
and all
sell
that
your
other
stock.
stuff.
You can't
Yes.
trade.
But in DOD, really the prime mission is to, defeat our enemies, and it is not a whole lot to do with
Keeping
cranking
track
out
of the
clean audit
track of the
opinions.
money.
Keeping track of the money is important. We haven't done the greatest job at that. I don't know that that's the worst thing we're failing at when it comes to getting clean financial statements. It's been a little bit of disarray. We have too many systems. They don't talk to each other. It's very difficult to, or has been, to get people interested. I think we're at a nexus in time right now, though. The administration is behind doing the audit. The secretary is. Congress, obviously, you guys are. You've, given us some deadlines.
Well, you have a great opportunity and I think great experience. And as you point out, everybody's aligned behind this mission. So I look forward to your work. You're going to prove to the world that the term Comptroller of the Pentagon is not a contradiction in terms. that should be your task. Ms. Henninger, you are, as the chairman noted, extremely well qualified for this job. The problem is the job seems to be going away before you even get there. 70% of the staff of the office that you're designated to leave has been cut. And yet at the same time, the challenges of testing and evaluation of new technologies, particularly the challenges of cyber and ensuring cybersecurity of the whole supply chain, have multiplied in recent years. How in the world are you going to do your job when you've only got 30% of the people that were there a year ago?
Thank you for the opportunity to expand on that, Senator King. I haven't been briefed on the details of Secretary Defense, his memorandum and his decisions after the memorandum. I understand that there's a 60-day period where there will be a reconsideration of any resources that might be necessary. I don't know where that stands right now. The operational test and evaluation community spreads out responsibilities across a number of entities, including the service OTAs, who actually do the cyber testing. At DOT&E, the office that you are talking about in your question, specifically provides oversight and independent analysis to a certain number of programs that are on the oversight list. When I get into the office, I will do an independent analysis of my
I think
own.
this office is very important, particularly at this moment in time. And Mr. Kohlmann, I would modify your philosopher's statement. Men and women empowered by the best technology win wars. Genghis Khan was able to conquer the world because of the invention of the stirrup, which enabled his warriors to be more fearsome. The English army at Agincourt defeated the French, a 4-times size army, because of the new technology of the longbow. So what you're doing is incredibly important, and I hope you'll fight for the office, for the people that you need in order to do the job. I think that's what's especially important here. Mr. Denton, legal advice and rule of law. You've done a lot of law work throughout your career. You know that one of the important jobs of a lawyer sometimes is to tell their client things they don't want to hear. Are you willing to do that to the Secretary of Defense or the President of the United States if you feel that the law is moving in a direction, or the law requires a direction that isn't consistent with the policy direction that they want to pursue?
Senator, that is always a lawyer's first obligation, is to tell their client what the law is and what their options and obligations are. I look forward to providing that advice to Secretary Phelan if confirmed, and to working closely with colleagues in the General Counsel of the Department of Defense office, and if necessary, the White House counsel's office, on any broader legal issues that we may need to collaborate on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kohlmann. I have some questions for you about Manpower for the record. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator King. Senator Scott, you rushed in here breathlessly to take your place ahead of Senator Tuberville. Have you caught your breath? Are you
Are you all right? Do you want to go?
are you able to?
All right.
Yes, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you. First off, thanks each of you for being here. So I'm a business guy. I've been up here for 6.5 years. I ran companies. We never didn't have an audit. I mean, it's actually hard to believe that our military can't get an audit done. So in my business life, one, you couldn't sell public stock. You know, nobody would buy your stock. You couldn't raise money. The bank would foreclose on you. So, and what's frustrating is no one's ever been held accountable. I mean, I don't know anybody that hasn't been promoted. I don't know anybody that's been let go. There's basically no accountability. You have to admire the Marines. They testified about, a couple weeks ago, and they make their audit, but nobody else gets it done. So Mr. Powers, if confirmed, you're going to oversee the DoD's finances and budget every year. This clearly is not an easy job. How long is it going to take you to deliver a clean audit? Easy question.
December 31st, 2028, Senator.
You think it'll take that long?
Yes, I do. There's a lot to be done. What the Marine Corps did, part of it was they did it because they're Marines, and they did it the hard way. They didn't have great systems. They didn't have good internal controls, but they audited through that, meaning instead of sampling 100 items, they would sample thousands of items to get to the point where they could assure the reader of the financial statements that they were correct, and the auditors. It'll take some time. I mean, we got to consolidate systems, got to get rid of a bunch of legacy stuff. We got to start leveraging AI and.
So in the meantime, are we going to get audit reports with exceptions?
Senator, we get those every year, but we've been making progress. We've got 12 financial statements from last year, organizations within DoD that got clean audit opinions. An effort was made to get the government's checkbook, fund balance with Treasury, audited and cleaned up. That was a material weakness that GAO had identified. And quite a number of them did get cleaned up, improved. But there's a lot to do. We just have not been serious enough about it. I believe that now is the time. I mean, we're all kind of on board. I refer to this as a nonpartisan exercise, because we all know it needs to be done, and it only makes sense, and, you know, what's going on, why can't we do it? And we haven't done it because we haven't had the will.
So do you think it takes new people?
Excuse me?
To take new people? And in my business life, I mean, if you're the CFO and you didn't get an audit done, you lost your job. I mean, no CFO can keep their job if the audit's not done.
Correct.
So does it take new people? Because the people there must not be important to them.
Certainly, it will take new people. We haven't delivered with the people we have, you know, to the extent that that needs to be looked at and analyzed and reconfigured, I will say. You know, we need to get the train pointed in the right direction, and we need to execute. We need to have a good plan. We need to have leadership that is all over making this very important. You know, in business, when the boss says something's really important, you do it, because you might lose your job.
Do you think the bosses are saying that?
I don't think there was a lot of that previously. There was some people were more interested than others. Some people just thought it was an impossible task. And some people were much more interested in executing, you know, against the broader mission of the department. I think it needs to be important, and it needs, then people like the Comptroller need to be accountable. It's not just one person, it's the entire organization, but if confirmed, I would like to put together a plan that involves senior leadership, DepSecDef, managing monthly meetings, holding people accountable, the secretaries and the financial managers and comptrollers for the departments and agencies.
Well, I would appreciate it after you get confirmed, if you could just give us like in writing, just a quarterly update of how you're doing. So, because I think a lot of us here really care about this, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure it's a priority. So, thank you.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you, Senator Scott. And Mr. Powers, let me just pick up on what the senator just said. I heard you say you're going to, within weeks, if you're confirmed, and I think you will be, that you'll establish benchmarks and markers. If you come back and testify before us in early January of next year, do you think you'll be able to say that you will have achieved those benchmarks and milestones that you're going to set out very soon?
I think I can come back and tell you what those benchmarks and milestones are and when we expect to get those checked off. Not getting them actually completed by January. That's not going to happen.
Okay, I see. Well, we'll explore that further. Thank you, but thank you very much for that answer. Senator Kane, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and this is a great panel, all people highly qualified for the positions. Mr. Kohlmann, you began and finished your testimony with the United States is worth defending, and it made me think if the United States is worth defending, and we all believe that it is, then public service to the United States is worth defending. I found it interesting, a common theme in all of your opening testimonies, and you each write them independently, but you all emphasize the deep connections that both you and family members have had to the service of the United States in civilian capacities, in military capacities, in judicial capacities. Each of you walked through your life and chose to allocate a lot of your 5 minutes to talk about your justified pride in serving the country. I've got an awful lot of public servants in Virginia who are right now feeling like they've just been cast aside. And this is not about any of you, but in the same way that you feel pride in having served the country and excitement about this next opportunity for service, in the same way that a whole lot of people in this room and a whole lot of people behind me up here feel pride that they've chosen to serve their country by being U.S. public servants. Tens of thousands of public servants have been riffed, doged, kicked out, fired, locked out of their office, placed on administrative leave with virtually no process to analyze the merits of their service, the productivity of the office they work in, or their own careers. A whole lot of them have been fired for the simple reason that they're probationary, that they can be fired, that they're in their first year of service and they have little recourse. Because the federal civilian service is about 30% veteran compared to the public sector being in the single digits veteran, the victims of this mass firing of federal employees in the last 8 months have been disproportionately veterans, overwhelmingly veterans. DOD civilians, USAID employees, because veterans serve long periods of time, and then when they transition to civilian workforce, even if they've been in the military for 25 years, in that first year, you're a person of great expertise, but you're a probationary employee, just like a 23-year-old who can be cast aside like you're trash. And so I'm glad that each of you in your own way decided when you had 5 minutes before the committee, the thing that you really wanted to tell us about yourself was your pride in serving this nation in a whole variety of different ways. And I want everyone who serves this country to feel proud of it, to want to do it, and to feel respected and appreciated for having done it. Mr. Kohlmann, I appreciated our visit in the office a lot, and this is a really important post, as all of your posts are important. I'm the lead Democrat on the Sea Power Subcommittee, so the Navy Marine issue is really important to Virginia, really important to me. One of my kids is a Marine reservist. How are you going to, should you be confirmed in the Navy, ensure a smooth transition for employees who were in the deferred resignation program or the voluntary early retirement authority? How can you manage that in a smooth way while maintaining operational readiness?
Senator, thank you for the question. And the civilian workforce that we have is critical to our national security and the Department of the Navy. And the decisions that were made previously was not something I took part in, but future transitions of individuals, and if we do need to make right-sizing adjustments, need to be made done in a data-driven way to ensure that we're making the right decisions for the Department of the Navy. One opportunity we could explore is something similar to the TAPS program that the active duty military has to look at what options to transition are. Shipbuilding and workforce is a critical thing that we have to think about in the private sector. There could be opportunities to take folks who have adjacent expertises and help make those seamless transitions happen for them. But I look forward to diving in deeper and understanding the problem more deeply.
You and I talked in my office, and I won't go further into it, about the Brandon Act, which is an act that I helped get passed to really focus upon the mental health needs of sailors, and there's components to it that are applicable throughout the defense enterprise. Really important that those resources be available, that there be no stigma attached to seeking mental health services. I know that you share that goal. And then the last thing is, we talked about the civilian workforce, but you were also a reservist. Talk about the way to make sure that our reservists are really fully, integrated into the Navy mission.
Senator Kane, thanks for the question. There's an immense, to the chairman's point, eagerness to serve our country with very unique skill sets. And I think the reserves has a unique opportunity to take the existing reserve members we have and bring in new members for very targeted skill sets that we can put them into roles so they can have immediate impact within the Department of Navy. I think of people who are in banking or consulting or are on the front lines of manufacturing that we need direct insight into in the service. I think we can find ways to make use of their skills very quickly.
Thank you for that. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Tuberville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Congratulations to all of you, and thanks for your service. Ms. Henninger, Huntsville, Alabama is a major hub for innovations in hypersonic space warfare and quantum computing, just to name a few. I don't need to tell you we're already years behind our adversaries in these critical technologies. What will you do to accelerate the testing and evaluation of critical technologies, especially as threats from adversaries like China continue to mature?
Senator Tuberville, thank you for the opportunity to answer this. I am very familiar with Huntsville, been there many, many times to Redstone. I worked with the Cyber Red team there. I agree, it is a hotbed of innovation for the country. Appreciate all the smart people down there. And speed is very, very important, and speed with rigor is even better. So there are a number of levers in place right now that DOT&E can encourage the operational test agencies to employ. They include things like shifting left. They include things like taking advantage of training exercises or operational experimentation exercises. They include things like more tightly integrating DT and OT. The issue, in my view, is that those things are becoming our go-to for surge, and they should be everyday baseline in every test we do. So I would like to see us move beyond surging with manpower and find other ways, automation, excuse me, more automated T&E, more digital methods, digital modeling to speed and facilitate our test and evaluation processes.
Thank you. Our F-35 program seems to take one step forward and two steps back. How do we fix that?
Sir, thank you for the question. I've been out of the office for 4 years, and I'm not tracking exactly what's going on with the F-35. I haven't been briefed on it. I know the Block 4 is coming up. I know there's a lot of classified work on that. I am slightly familiar with it because I worked on it previously. But one of my first steps back into the office would be to come up to speed on all these weapon systems, especially the classified ones that I've missed the last 4 years, and understand where our baseline is and what we're doing.
You'll find out pretty quick. Again, it's a great machine. We just continue to have problems. Mr. Kohlmann, DoD's civilian workforce numbers have exploded in the last 2 decades, while service end strengths have decreased. The tail is eating the tooth and has become an enormous burden to the American taxpayer. Under the previous administration, there were additional protections put in at the request of labor unions to make it harder to fire unperforming employees. What's your plans to fix this bloated bureaucracy?
Senator, thank you for the question. Coming from the private sector, there were many opportunities when we had to reassess our workforce to understand if it was at the correct size. I think it's appropriate for government to make similar assessments. I wanted, if confirmed, get in the seat and understand where the core areas of priority are, and if we have to reshift allocations of civilian workforce from one area to the other, or maybe rewrite size areas as well. I think holding civilians and military personnel to very high standards and holding them accountable for performance is critical to driving the change that we need.
Yeah, and also a lot of our military bases, the brick and mortar is an absolute disgrace. I know that's not you're not going to be over brick and mortar, but we're going to need your help to fix a lot of that. And we're behind.
Senator, the state of how our service members live is critical to both retention and recruitment, and I look forward to working with Secretary of the Navy. I know it's a priority of his to make sure that our service members have the right places to live.
Yeah, the quality of life, should be a lot better than what it is for a lot of our families, and that's important for recruiting, as we were talking about earlier. Mr. Denton, the previous administration flouted the law and used the office to seek, and many others to advance a political agenda. As the Navy's top lawyer, can you commit to helping ensure the Navy will follow statute and advise senior leaders in an apolitical manner?
Absolutely, Senator.
You see any problems? What do you think will be your number one agenda when you first go into office?
Senator, I think that my most important priority, if confirmed, will be supporting Secretary Phelan's most important priority, which is shipbuilding and getting the battle force back to where it needs to be. That's going to be a full life cycle effort throughout the entire acquisition and sustainment process, making sure that we are receiving value for dollar from industry, but at the same time ensuring that we have the right authorities and the right resources deployed to sustain the fleet and make sure that we have the capabilities that our sailors and Marines need to deter and, if necessary, win any fight that might come our way.
Thank you, Senator Wicker, and I like to hear that word, shipbuilding, don't we, Senator?
Senator Tuberville, I don't think we could have had a finer answer to that question.
Exactly right.
Thank you very much. Senator Blumenthal, you're recognized.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your service, your willingness to serve in the future as well. Mr. Kohlmann, one of the real challenges in today's military, including in the Navy, is the critical shortage of personnel in key C billets. It isn't just a manpower issue, it's a readiness and retention issue. As you know, the Army's Future Soldier Preparatory course has demonstrated success by bringing in thousands of previously ineligible recruits and setting them up for long-term success in the Army. That course has, in effect, overcome some of the disadvantages that new potential recruits have. I wonder what steps you would contemplate to address the shortages of recruiting, which have become problems from time to time, and whether the Navy should pursue a similar kind of preparatory program.
Senator, thank you for the question. It's been heartening to see the Navy and Marine Corps both meet their recruiting goals in the past year, but in past years that has been a deep challenge. If confirmed, one of the first things I want to do is understand what has driven that uptick. And if we can reinforce those areas of success, ensure that we replicate that effort. And where individuals who wanted to serve maybe fell short for waiver reasons or medical reasons or physical fitness reasons, if we can potentially look at options to help bring them in through similar programs like the Army program, I'm open to exploring that. I'll also say on the shipbuilding front, I think there's an opportunity for us, for individuals who may not meet the physical requirements of the Navy, consider options to making them available to industry and opening up the trades for them to go into if they're looking for great paying jobs in support of our nation.
In a previous Congress, I've championed a measure that's named after a young man who committed suicide. He was from Connecticut, Xavier Sandor, to provide more off-ship, on and off-base, better living conditions when ships are undergoing maintenance, so that they don't have to live on the ship while it's being repaired for whatever reason or undergoing maintenance. I like your commitment that you'll look at that program and make sure that the Navy is fulfilling its obligations in the memory of Xavier Sandor. His father, John, is dedicated to this cause, and I know that the previous administration championed it as well.
Senator, if confirmed, I will gladly look into it and commit to looking into it more deeply.
Ms. Henninger, unmanned aerial and undersea warfare, is this an area where you feel you have a responsibility to advance the technology and the practical uses?
Senator Blumenthal, thank you for that question. From the perspective of operational test and evaluation, it would be, if confirmed, my role to assure that those systems were properly tested, adequately tested in an operational environment, in combat credible conditions with realistic threats.
Are we testing them now adequately?
Sir, yes. There are a number of systems in those spaces, not perhaps fully autonomous, but semi-autonomous, that we do test.
Let me ask you, do you think we're keeping pace with the technologies that other countries are developing in unmanned warfare?
Thank you for that question, sir. I'm not, especially because I'm not in the DoD right now, privy to the intelligence reports that would give me the baseline to understand our comparison. But if confirmed, I would commit to, of course, getting briefed quickly by the intel community to understand where our near-peer adversaries are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Senator Budd.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, congrats to each and every one of you. I know your families, your loved ones, supporters are very proud. Mr. Kohlmann, 10 years ago, the Navy Times wrote an article about your contributions to the innovative and entrepreneurial spirit in the Navy, particularly on ways to shake up how the Navy grows, manages, and retains its most valuable resource, and that's its people. There's a lot of great ideas in this article, if you'll recall, like allowing for merit-based production outside of the Sailors' Year Group, adding graduate school and industry opportunities, and several others. So it seems appropriate that you're here today
to appear as a nominee to lead the Navy's Manpower and Reserve Affairs. So since this article 10 years ago in 2015, how has the Navy taken to some of your ideas, and what are your next steps?
Senator, thank you for the question, and it's an honor to be back and have the opportunity to potentially have this role if the Senate consents to it. My understanding is the Navy has opened up some of the year group opportunities. They now do more below the zone promotions, in addition to re-racking kind of the lineal order for folks who, instead of just when they were in their year group, they would restack those and give them more opportunities for earlier promotion. I understand there are more graduate opportunities, and they've also opened up some trade-offs with industry programs to get some real-world experience. One of the things that, if confirmed, I'm eager to look into is what the ratios are of the quality spread of individuals we're retaining. One of the challenges I saw when I was running some retention studies in naval aviation was, some of the top performers were choosing to depart to do other things. It seems like if we face a kinetic conflict in the future, we will want some of the most creative thinkers to stay in the service. And so I'd want to understand why we're losing them, if we can retain them, and bring in more talent from the outside if necessary, and augment the talent we already have.
Very good. Dr. Henninger, I enjoyed the conversation in my office. And, you mentioned that we need to modernize and streamline the evaluation process and better integrate it with the acquisition life cycle. How might we do that without sacrificing quality or cutting corners?
Thank you, sir. I also appreciated the opportunity to talk with you about this the other day. So our test and evaluation processes, as our acquisition processes, were started quite a long time ago in a different era where we were hardware-centric. And the T&E oversight portfolio now is software-centric. The systems on it are software-enabled and software-defined, and there's only 5 to 10% that is only hardware. We have been evolving an old process, trying to make it work, and we've been doing yeoman's work to do that. What we've learned is that only scales with people. We can only surge with more manpower. And I would suggest that using more software to automate software testing is where we need to go. And if confirmed, that's what I would want to bring to the position.
So in this software-centric, I think you put it, environment, how far can modeling and simulation take us in operational test and evaluation? And is there going to be a day or a day soon when live open-air testing is no longer required?
Sir, thank you for that question. So as a rule of thumb, I believe it makes sense to model or simulate the things that we know and live test the things we don't know. And with that as a baseline heuristic, I don't ever foresee a day where we will have no live testing.
Thank you. I want to switch the technology discussion to you, Mr. Powers. Can you provide an example of how the use of legacy finance and accounting systems, I think you mentioned those legacy systems being one of the challenges, and there's a lot of opportunity ahead with AI and newer systems, but how do they impact the ability of auditors to fully account for DoD resources?
Thanks for that question, Senator. Right now, we have the disparate financial management systems we have across the department don't really talk to each other. We don't acquire, we don't, information the same way, we don't store it the same way, we can't analyze it in a way that allows us to leverage what we need to do for financial processes and the data that's required to do the analytics to get us the numbers that we need to have on the financial statement.
Are there off-the-shelf systems that could be adapted for DoD usage?
I am certain there are off-the-shelf systems. If confirmed, I fully intend to get involved or have the right experts, at hand to get involved and come up with, a solution that leverages technology in a way we have not done, that gives us the data analytics piece, gives us the clean processing of the financial data to get the financial statement audit opinions. Thank you all. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Budd. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to all of our nominees. In 1983, Congress created the Director of Operational Test and Evaluation Office to provide the Secretary of Defense and Congress with the unvarnished truth about the weapons we buy and whether they actually work. The reason for that bill was because the military had been caught trying to cover up major problems, like that the Bradley fighting vehicle would, quote, burn its crew to death if it were hit by a single Soviet anti-tank missile. Now, Dr. Henninger, if you are confirmed to lead the testing office, it will be your job to make sure that similar problems are brought to light and fixed. And this is important because service members' lives are at stake here. But Secretary Hegseth has issued a memo reducing the staff by 74% and its budget by 80%. This is a dangerous decision, and I have serious concerns about whether you will have the resources you need to accomplish your safety mission. So, Dr. Henninger, will you promise to come to this committee and tell the public if your test results show that a system is unsafe or doesn't work, or if you don't have the resources to tell one way or the other about whether a system is safe and operational or not?
Thank you for that question, Senator Warren. Our reports will always reflect any limitations or assumptions that we encountered in operational test and evaluation. And of course, I will always come before you and tell the truth. So all those things taken together, that's an affirmative yes.
Well, I appreciate that. Having the courage to speak truth to power is a big part of what this office is all about. You know, this is very personal for me, Dr. Henninger. This office is the one that raised the alarm about safety concerns on the V-22, and those warnings were ignored, and 2 of my constituents died. You need to be the watchdog that barks. Now, one of your major tools is your annual report. Under the Biden administration, there was pressure on the testing office to hide problems through designations like controlled unclassified information. The information isn't classified, but those blank spots, blackouts in the report, keep the public in the dark about a tank that gets so hot that it burns soldiers' hands, or the risk that a pilot ejecting from an F-35 will have their neck snapped. So, Dr. Henninger, if you are confirmed, do you promise to ensure that the testing office's reports inform the public as much as possible about the problems that we need to fix in order to make sure that our weapons are safe?
Yes, Senator, to the maximum extent possible.
Okay, I will hold you to that. Now, one of your other tools is your oversight list, which identifies which programs should receive scrutiny from your office. Congress plays a key role in providing oversight of these programs as well, as you know. And in the past, your office has agreed to add programs that Congress identifies to your list, so they will be sure to be scrutinized. Dr. Henninger, if you're confirmed, will you commit to continue to support your office conducting oversight on programs that Congress requests?
Thank you, Senator Warren. I will always conform with all the laws and regulations that govern my role, if confirmed. And if Congress legislates the oversight list, then I will absolutely.
Okay, I have to say that's the wrong answer. This is not one where the question is, if we legislate, will you follow the law? Well, yes. I mean, that should be a given. I don't think I should have to ask that. The question is, if we request oversight of a particular company or a particular effort that is going forward, our constitutional responsibility is oversight, and in many ways, you are our eyes and ears out there. I want a commitment from you that if we're requesting oversight, that you will, in fact, put that company or put that program on your oversight list. Can I get that commitment?
Senator, we all want the oversight list to reflect the programs or records that will best serve our missions and keep our warfighters safe and our taxpayers apprised. And I will take all suggestions with a wide net. I'll cast a wide net, take everybody's suggestions who have something to offer, and do an analysis of what should be on the oversight list, yes.
Okay, it's a better answer than the first one, but not a great answer here. Look, ensuring the safety of our service members means standing up for transparency and against any pressure that would compromise the integrity of the testing process. That's all I'm looking for here. And the Senate National Defense Authorization Act goes a long way to push back on misguided efforts to reduce essential oversight. I look forward to working with the chairman and all of my colleagues on getting that done. But we really need you committed to overseeing and being transparent about what you have seen in the testing programs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for going.
Well, thank you, Senator Warren. And let me just say, I don't know, there may have been some misunderstanding of the question, but each of these witnesses has already assured that they will cooperate with the Congress and this committee in exercising our legislative and oversight responsibilities, which makes it important that this committee, its subcommittees, and other appropriate committees receive testimony, briefings, reports, records, and other information from the executive branch on a timely basis. And each of these witnesses has agreed, if confirmed, to testify before this committee when requested to provide records, documents, electronic communications in a timely manner. This is something that, Dr. Henninger, you have agreed to before we even began the questions by certain members. So I hope you understand the importance of that question, and that should give you some satisfaction, Senator Warren.
Actually, I do appreciate the general statement, but lots of people come in here and tell us they're going to be transparent in administration after administration. And then we end up with problems like how much information gets blacked out in the reports, which is the reason that I ask with more specificity than simply asking, will you be transparent and responsive? So that was the reason for my questions.
And we'll let that statement stand. But I do believe that all of these witnesses have solemnly assured this committee that they're going to cooperate with requests for information and provide us the whole truth. So thank you very much. At this point, the chair recognizes Senator Sheehy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Powers, thank you for taking the time to meet with me a couple of weeks ago, congrats on your nomination. We discussed at length the challenges that DOD has had for decades now at passing an audit. And I think it's high time we institute some fiscal responsibility into our defense spending rubric, as well as how we budget. Some of that is on us, some of that's on you. But the reality is we have to make sure that the nearly $1 trillion a year we are spending on our military is being spent wisely, and we are not having fraud, waste, and abuse in the system. We're also spending, in some cases, billions of dollars on external auditors to come in and audit the Pentagon, yet we still are not passing audits. So we're paying people to give us audit opinions, private audit firms who are making billions off of auditing our government, yet we're still not passing audits. So I'd like to hear from you what your plan is to stop paying external consultants billions of dollars to not help us pass audits, and eventually how we pass an audit to make sure we are being responsible stewards of our taxpayer dollars.
Thank you for that question, Senator Sheehy, and I did appreciate you taking the time to talk a few weeks back. We're spending a lot of money, and we have spent a lot of money over the years getting ready for audit and being audited. The majority of that money is on the getting ready to audit side. If confirmed, I really want to dig in and get a well, I'm going to have to, the department is going to have to meet the goal of December 2028. But we need to have an organization, a structure. We need leadership to be very engaged, senior leadership. I think that's one of the keys. Another key is addressing our technology issues. We don't have, our systems don't all talk to each other. They're not auditable in some cases. We don't leverage technology. There's a lot of stuff out there that we could take advantage of that would make our books a lot cleaner, and the data analytics that are required to identify problems, that would make that something that we could take advantage of. Audit hasn't been important. Audit is important now. I think, I might have mentioned this earlier, but we're at a point in time where everyone kind of agrees on the same thing, which is there is no excuse for DOD not having a clean audit opinion, and we need to get in line and get it done.
I think having some of our senior leaders of the Pentagon coming from a business background will help with this. Secretary Feinberg, Secretary Phelan, and many others can bring some of that business acumen. You know, it's interesting that DoD contractors have to abide by DCAA accounting standards and essentially PCAOB accounting standards. As a former CEO of a public company, I'm familiar with how that works. Yet the Pentagon itself doesn't have to apparently abide by those. So I think it's not only is it the right thing to do, it's also an operational criticality. We have China building ships 230 times faster than we do. Russia builds artillery shells and munitions about 10 times faster than we do for about 10% the cost. So it's beyond just fiscally responsible, it's also an operational necessity. If we're going to have an industrial base that keeps up with our adversaries, we have to make sure our money is led on target. Thank you for your answer. Dr. Henninger, thank you for the meeting the other day. The 21st century battlefield will be characterized by spectrum warfare. Each phase of war in the last hundreds of years, we've seen different weapon systems and domains be dominant, from air to undersea to surface warfare. As we're seeing in Ukraine, and as we've seen in our recent conflicts with Iranian proxies, spectrum will be the battlefield of the 21st century, from electronic warfare to contested spectrum domain. We need to adjust our operational test and evaluation rubric to more thoroughly allow for testing and training in contested spectrum. I'd like to hear your thoughts on how we're going to make that happen.
Senator Sheehy, thank you for the question, and thank you for the opportunity to meet with you the other day. I agree with you. Contested, congested spectrum is the new normal, and our systems will need to be able to prove that they can jam and spoof and recover. We have some capabilities at our ranges now, but I don't think we have the comprehensive capability that we will need going into the future, where this will become a bigger part of our battlefield. So I would want to work very closely, if confirmed, with my counterparts in research and engineering and the Test Resource Management Center especially, to look at solutions going forward, perhaps new testing training ranges focused specifically on that capability.
Great, thank you. I'm out of time, but one last point from Mr. Denton, just a quick statement. I think I'd look forward to a thorough review of how we implement our ROEs. As a veteran of both the Iraq and Afghan wars, several deployments, we experienced multiple periods where we were placing the well-being of our adversaries ahead of those of our own servicemen with restrictive ROEs. And I hope that going forward we can review those and how we implement those across the board. So thank you all for being willing to serve again. Thank you to your families.
Thank you, Senator Sheehy. Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do want to thank all of you for your willingness to serve, and all the families behind you, supporting you. They often are serving as well. Maybe sometimes those jobs are even harder than what you're getting ready to do, so thank you to everybody here. I want to get a commitment from all the nominees here, if confirmed, to come on up to Alaska to see the what Billy Mitchell, the father of the U.S. Air Force, called the most strategic place in the world. We are home to three pillars of America's military might. We're the cornerstone of missile defense. We are the hub of air combat power for the Arctic and Asia Pacific, with over 100 fifth-generation fighters in Alaska, and we are the platform for expeditionary forces like the 11th Airborne Division of the U.S. Army, go anywhere in the world in a moment's notice. So can I get a commitment from all of you to come on up to Alaska?
Senator, yes.
Gladly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be in the summer when the salmon are running like right now. You can be in the winter when it's 40 below zero and you go to Fort Greely and see our missile defenses. Is that all right? The Russians and Chinese like to come to Alaska. We had another Russian incursion in our ADIS last week where our military scrambled F-22s and F-35s and F-16s to go intercept the Russians. They're up there all the time. So are the Chinese. They're doing joint strategic bomber and Navy ops, and a lot of times our media and military, well, our military is great on this, but a lot of times nobody down here even knows what's going on in Alaska. So it's a busy place with our frontline adversaries taking a lot of interest because of our strategic location and the buildup of our military forces. I wanted to switch to another topic. In Alaska, particularly with regard to the Army and the Air Force, but all our forces, we've had a spate of active duty suicides, particularly the Army. Very, very high spikes in suicides. And I want to get your thoughts. Some of you would be, Mr. Kohlmann, you'll be very focused on this issue. Some of you on the General Counsel side, Mr. Denton, maybe not so much, but it's a really big issue that impacts all the forces and, of course, families. And I just want to get a sense from any of you if you have thoughts on how to address that, how to focus it. My view has always been, you know, you get units that train hard, that know what their mission is. Those kind of challenges often subside, but there are other aspects to it. But it's a big deal, and I try to keep an eye on it, not just for Alaska troops, but all of our military troops. So maybe, Mr. Kohlmann, I can start with you if there's any thoughts, and others too, if you're thinking about this.
Senator, thank you for the question. And suicide is a scourge for both active duty and veterans. It's been persistent, and we've had a hard time making headway. You know, the numbers over the past 10 years have unfortunately stayed pretty persistent. I think there are some emerging efforts on the civilian side that are showing some good promise. I went to an event in February where a new approach was being used by someone who's been in the space for a while. So if confirmed, I look forward to understanding what the current state of the programmatic efforts are. I know this committee has been committed to that through things like the Brandon Act and others, and then figure out what's working with groups like the VA and other nonprofits to see what we could augment the already existing work in. And I'll also emphasize, I think it's to your point, Senator, as well, meaning and purpose goes a long way.
It does.
And if we can infuse meaning and purpose in what all of our sailors and Marines and even civilians are doing, that's a first step. It's not the only step, but it's an important first step.
Good. Any other thoughts on this topic? Let me turn to one final topic. It's the Small Business 8A contracting program. We have companies in Alaska that have done a very good job on that, and the report cards they keep coming back are, for the DoD, it makes it more efficient, more lethal. This program, we think, has worked really well to help underserved communities in my state get a chance at business with the federal government, but also it's made the Pentagon a lot more efficient and lethal. There's elements of that program that provide flexibility for the Department of Defense to pursue contracts in a way that often don't exist with other federal contracts because they're very burdensome and full of red tape. Can I get your commitment, and I'll ask in the queue for more details, to be a strong supporter of that program as it regards to the small businesses, 8A contracting, and the Pentagon? Can I get everybody's commitment on that? Go ahead, you need to say yes.
Senator, yes. Yes, Senator.
Yes.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Great. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sullivan. Just one more thing. I think we're ready to close the hearing. There will be an opportunity for questions for the record. When When will questions for the record be due?
2 business days.
Okay. 2 business days from today. Let me just go to Dr. Henninger. Obviously, there are people on this committee who question the decision of the Secretary of Defense to reduce the staff of DOT&E. But what we do need to realize is that, as Senator Warren mentioned, this was created in FY 1983 in the National Defense Authorization Act. And by statute, it is required to conduct oversight of only the largest programs, which are called, and I quote, major defense acquisition programs, unquote, and they're roughly 90. So the position that I would take, and that I think probably the Secretary took, is that the remaining programs on the oversight list over time have been added by the director, and that it amounts to mission creep. So we'll continue to have that discussion among members of the Senate and House. Dr. Henninger, the NDAA has been reported from this committee for next year. Have you had a chance to look at that with regard to your function?
Thank you for that question, Senator. I have not seen the NDAA rollout. I have read some of the previous work in the Forged Act and the Speed Act. Okay. Well,
I realize that you're not supposed to take any action which presumes you'll be confirmed. We ask that question of everybody. But it's okay, I think, right now to go ahead and familiarize yourself with the provisions of a proposed piece of legislation that has been reported from a full committee. So I would suggest that bit of homework for you as we proceed. Looks like we possibly may not have a vote of this committee before the August recess, if there is, in fact, a recess. And confirmation of each of you may not come until September. Just guessing there, but it's an educated guess. You will find in the proposed NDAA an alternate test and evaluation pathway for software, which seeks to leverage industry practices. And of course, that's, you mentioned the Forged Act, which I have proposed, and much of which is contained in the NDAA proposal. But with regard to software programs, it emphasizes data collection, a sort of a life cycle process across the program life cycle, rather than at a singular graduation point. So familiarize yourself with that, if you will, and we hope to get to confirmation votes of quite a few nominees in short order, but there have been some delays that we did not expect from some of our friends on the other side of the issue. So at this point, let me make sure that I have stated things correctly. This concludes today's hearing. I'd like to thank our witnesses for their testimony and for the information of members. Questions for the record will be due to the committee within 2 business days of the conclusion of this hearing. And with the thanks of the committee, we are adjourned.